Chicago-based rapper Davon King Von Bennett started his career in 2018. He was off to an amazing start with the backing of his friend Lil Durk, who signed him to his OTF label. His song Crazy Story was a huge success, in which he told the story of a robbery that went left. Von had a unique style of storytelling which came out in most of his songs. However, his career and his life was cut short on November 6, 2020 at the age of 26. King Von was a highly talented rapper, but there were some truths about him that he tried to hide from us. Keep watching to find out what they were. The truth King Von tried to hide from us. King Von's criminal history started when he was a kid. He was always in and out of prison because of his run-ins with the law. Von earned his first trip behind bars when he robbed someone at gunpoint and stole his car. The judge in that case decided to go easy on him. If Von went to boot camp, he dismissed the charges. Still, Von's time in boot camp didn't seem to work because he ended up in trouble again, this time for possession of a handgun. The first sentence lasted for 14 months, while the second lasted for 15 months. Von's longest time behind bars was for 3.5 years while awaiting trial because he allegedly shot a man named Malcolm Stuckey at an Inglewood party in 2014 when he was only 19 years old. Von was charged with murdering Stuckey and injuring 2 others. Michael Wade, Von's friend, was with him during the incident and also reportedly fired about 15 rounds. Wade was ultimately sentenced to 28 years in prison, while Von ultimately beat the case and went free. Von had a long history with Chicago PD. He was arrested in Parkway Gardens in 2018 when police raided his apartment and found a bag of firearms and a quarter pound of marijuana. But the prosecutors in Cook County decided not to press charges. Some police sources said one of the guns found was linked to a murder. After Von's release from prison, he launched his music career and he started making progress. But his career came to a standstill in February 2019 when he was arrested again for a shooting in Atlanta. This time around, he was involved with his fellow rapper Lil Durk, who signed him to his label. The video footage of the incident showed Von and Durk firing shots at Alexander Weatherspoon in a parking lot outside the popular Varsity hot dog stand and stealing $30,000, jewelry, and a vehicle. Weatherspoon was wounded, but he survived. As a result of that, Von and Durk were ordered held without bond on charges including attempted murder, possession of a firearm, and gang association. But in June 2020, Durk and Von were released from jail for a bail of $250,000 and $300,000 respectively. Before he turned himself in to police, Durk told a TV reporter in Atlanta that he was innocent and is no longer involved in gangs. King Von's death. Von died in the early hours of November 6, 2020. He had an altercation with rapper Quando Rondo, a former friend. The dispute quickly escalated into violence. Von was transported to a hospital in critical condition, but he died there later that day. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, they reported that 2 people were killed. 4 people were also wounded, one of them being Von's alleged killer. The suspect was identified as 22-year-old Timothy Lil Tim Leaks. Von was buried on November 14, 2020 in his hometown of Chicago. He left behind a son and a daughter. According to police, Von was affiliated with O-Block, a faction of Chicago's Black Disciples street gang. The Chicago gang has been active in Atlanta for years. Von and 34-year-old Mark Blakely were both Chicago-based rappers, and they were both killed during the shootout in Atlanta. Mark and Von were both members of O-Block. A week before Von was murdered, he released his debut album, Welcome to O-Block, referring to the Black Disciples' stronghold in the Parkway Gardens apartments on Chicago's South Side. Blakely, who was killed the same night as Von, had a record of gun possession and theft in Cook County. He also had the words O-Block tattooed on his neck. During a bail hearing in the case of the Alexander Weatherspoon shooting, an Atlanta police officer testified that a surveillance camera caught Lil Durk firing a gun at someone, and a Chicago detective testified that both Durk and Von were active members of the Black Disciples. But then Von and Durk were freed in lieu of bail and subjected to electronic monitoring. The attempted murder case against Durk is still pending. According to law enforcement sources, the Black Disciples gang is suspected of trafficking guns and weed in Atlanta. They have been in the business for years in that city. The kingpin of the Black Disciples gang in Chicago, Marvel Thompson, laundered millions of dollars of drug profits through a car wash and a nightclub that he owned in Atlanta, according to federal prosecutors. The Gangster Disciples, known as rivals of the Black Disciples, are also very active in Atlanta. In 2016, members of the GDs were charged in Atlanta in a federal indictment accusing them of 10 murders, along with drug trafficking, robbery, carjacking, and bank fraud. The early days of King Von. Von was born on August 9, 1994 in Chicago, Illinois. He had 6 half-siblings through his father and 3 siblings from his mother, Taisha, who raised him. Von grew up east of Inglewood and the Dan Ryan Expressway in Parkway Gardens. Walter E. Bennett, also known as Ada Park Silk, was Von's father. Silk wasn't always present in his son's life because of frequent legal problems. He was shot and killed when Von was 11. Von would often pay tribute to his father in songs like Exposing Me. Von first went to jail himself at age 16, and that was just the start of his life of crime. In 2014, he was accused of a shooting that killed someone and wounded another, but was later acquitted. After his release, Von started rapping and collaborating with Lil Durk on songs, which later led to his Only the Family deal. Von said he and Durk went to Atlanta to get away from gangs and pursue their careers. During a 2019 interview on the No Jumper podcast, Von said he found it easier to do time in Atlanta than in Cook County, where rivals would always pick fights with him. When he was behind bars in Atlanta, he said inmates would approach him because they loved his music. His music career. King Von's career began when his fellow rapper Lil Durk signed him to his OTF label. Von released his hit single Crazy Story on December 6, 2018. On Valentine's Day 2019, Von's girlfriend, rapper Asian Doll, released a music video for her track about the artist Grandson, in which Von appeared. 2019 was a busy year for Von. In May, Crazy Story 2.0 featuring Durk was released, and a subsequent music video was later released on May 20th, that peaked at number 4 under the Bubbling Under Hot 100 chart. On September 13th, Crazy Story Part 3 was released. On July 9th, Durk and Von released their collab, Like That. On September 2nd, Von dropped his single, What It's Like. The single appeared on his mixtape Grandson Volume 1, which dropped 2 weeks later and featured Durk on a couple of tracks. The mixtape debuted at number 75 on the Billboard 200 and number 27 on the Hip Hop R&B Albums chart. On November 16th, Von released his single 2 AM. 2 weeks after that, he dropped his song Rolling, featuring YNW Melly, followed by a music video. 2020 was more of the same. On January 10th, Detroit rapper Sada Baby's single Pressin' was released, featuring Von. On February 21st, Von released Took Her to the O, which became one of his most famous songs. It was included on the LeVon James mixtape, released that March and peaked at number 63 on the Billboard 200. It contained features from NLE Choppa, T Grizzly, G Herbo, Lil Durk, and YNW Melly, among others. On April 29, 2020, Von released his single Grandson for President, which did well and was followed up with a music video for Broke Ops, a song from LeVon James. He then released another single called Why He Told on July 27th, and followed that up with another hit, All These with Durk, which garnered over 21 million views on YouTube. He then released another single titled How It Go on August 26th. Von released I Am What I Am featuring New York rapper Fivio Foreign on October 9, 2020. This particular release was made in anticipation of his debut studio album Welcome to O-Block, released 3 weeks later. The 16-track album features production from Chop Squad DJ Tay Keith, Weezy, and Hitmaker, among others. The album also includes the Polo G collaboration The Code, which was released with a music video. On Christmas Eve 2020, Durk released his album The Voice as a tribute to Von, who also appears on the album cover and the song Still Trappin'. King Von was a legend who had great potential and a lot to offer the rap industry. It's unfortunate that he died so young when the world was just getting to see his talents. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Till next time.